Hello, Irini again for you. And today I'm bringing you a different topic that it is something we learn about and then we see often in family constellation work. And this is the good conscience versus the bad one. And I'm going to explain what it means, and hopefully I can give some examples. So you also get curious about this family constellation tool that Bert Hellinger developed in the 80s, and that nowadays is very much used all over the globe in many countries by many facilitators. And for those who don't know what family constellation is, I'm going to put a link in the description of the episode to my website, where there is a short description of this work. But for me, after many years of experience, I've been trained in this modality between 2018 and 2020, and since 2018, but even before, I've been working with this for myself and with other people, and I always saw positive development. Many people would consider this a form of therapy, as I also practice the IOPT, that is a method of trauma therapy that somehow is stemming from the resonance work we see in Constellation, but has been designed and developed by Franz Rupert, a psychologist from Germany, specifically to work on trauma. I know the difference between therapy work and family constellation. And I also agreed with other practitioners of both modalities that family constellation is not therapy. So don't get confused in terminology, to say like that. What is then family constellation? It is a modality where we can explore hidden dynamic in a family system that most of the times we are not able to access in a different setting. We can work with a group or with Lego figures as the ones you see in the background. So this is an example of a, let's call it family constellation. You can see several characters. One is on the floor, or other symbolic objects. And when we work with family constellation in a workshop or individual session, we work with a wider field, that is the morphic or morphogenetic field. Rupert Sheldrake explained very well what it means, and in particular in family constellation and in all types of methods that would use this resonance phenomena, that is at the core of how this field works, how the morphogenetic field works. We tap into the field and then we withdraw that knowledge about what usually in a conscious way we don't have access. And family constellation is very useful because it can address many different situations in our life when we feel disempowered, or we feel like we don't have options, when we don't know what to do, or we are just completely stuck. It can be a dynamic in the family, a conflict. It can be inheritance processes. It can be relationships issues, issues with children and their education, health issues and symptoms, more general topics regarding conflicts at the global level, like between countries or nations, or all sorts of situations when we can sense, but then we don't really know there is something else to look into behind the scenes. And Often in family constellation processes or intentions, we also see a kind of pattern which is quite common to many people, independent of the origin of the country or ancestral lineage, which is the good conscience. And this good conscience often provokes or creates the hidden or subconscious patterns of entanglement. Entanglement being a term that defines an energetic, psychological, and emotional entanglement. I don't know what other term to use, with another person's story or a health issue or conflict and so on. And what is happening in family dynamics is that often a child or a member in a certain family will retain to have a good consciousness or conscience if does something to that make him or her belong to that system, or that propagates a certain behavior or thought pattern that is in line with what already has been and happened in that family. But when we act from the space of a good one, we want to be aligned with the whole family and with things as they happen. If those things disrupted and created imbalance, then we will also tend to share the fate or the destiny of those people, or to see a replication of situations also in our life that could hinder in reality the potential to have a fulfilled, happy, healthy life. And of course, I need to give some examples, and I would have many, but let's see what in specific I can address. Maybe I can actually bring examples from my own history and from my own work, because I have really hundreds of hours of work with family constellation, both for myself as a client and also with other people who came to me asking for this kind of support with this specific tool. So yeah, I had recently had a quite serious health challenge. It was a tumor, and luckily I discovered it in a very initial stage, so I was able to treat and to resolve the challenge in a relatively short time span, less than 1 year. And as I usually do when I have something going on in my life and I feel I need clarity and I need to see in the hidden patterns, I became quite aware that when something shows up in my life and it's serious, or it's a difficulty or a hurdle I feel, or a conflict, then there is something else I need to understand, so I can bring a solution or something can open, and then I move towards the resolution. So I went to a workshop and also individual sessions of constellation several times to uncover what is behind this health challenge, behind this tumor. And several things came up, because usually it's not only one situation, it can be several. So it is quite complex. And we need to be curious to be able to uncover those many aspects of the same situation. So one aspect that came, it was that I was in an energetic, emotional entanglement with the grandmother from the mother's side. And that I was following or sharing her fate and her symptom, because she also had a tumor, but unfortunately she died with the tumor because the tumor had a relapse. So first she managed to treat, she had surgery, but then a few years later, the tumor reappeared, and this time was fatal for her. And she died quite young, around 65 years old, even before the revolution in Romania in 89. So she could not see this happening. And I was very fond of her. She was actually my favorite grandmother, and she took care of me when I was a little girl and also in my teenage years until she died. I was 15 years old. And of course, I missed her very much. And in that constellation, I was shown that because of the love that I had for her, I chose to manifest in my life a very similar type of health issue. And that is what we call the energetic entanglement, but also because me as a child, having so much love and being so much engulfed by the grief for her loss, I made almost this pact with myself that to be in good conscience towards her, I will do everything I can to follow her. And in this case, if the tumor is malignant, that actually you can follow that ancestor as I was drawn to into the death because she chose death in her life path, her destiny, as she became very sick with the tumor and was not able to save her. So as I couldn't save her as a child when she died, then I chose to have the same fate and develop a tumor. And of course, this was a small slice of the whole picture behind the symptom. But that's what, to a certain extent, we can call good conscience. Because if I would have chosen not to care, for example, or to say, okay, I want to be healthy, I don't want to get towards death and to develop something that can be harmful for my health, then there would be a bad conscience in relationship to my ancestor line, in this case to my grandmother. And of course, there were other reasons for the tumor also related with some intervention, medical intervention I had when I was very little, a toddler, that disconnected me from the body. So I could not figure out if I was still in the body or just dead, So there are many things that can happen that can create an opportunity for a health issue or a disease to develop. But this example in specific was just to make you aware of this notion of good versus bad conscience. Other examples, it can actually happen that in a family, there is a big secret. Maybe a child has been abandoned or aborted and nobody wanted to speak about that child. And then based on this principle that we call the inclusion, that the morphic field in a system, in a family system, brings, someone in the next generations, we never know in which one, but let's say that this happened in the generations of grandmothers and fathers, and then someone, there is a daughter or a son from the third generation moving forward, will subconsciously see, because this is what is also interesting, because we can see with our subconscious that energy that has been excluded, that aborted child or abandoned child, and chooses for having a good conscience to include. But this inclusion, as it is a kind of energetic pattern, can be done at the expense of the health or of the happiness of that person that sees the excluded. And so all sorts of situations can develop from this and can create difficulty for that person until we can work with the family system and understand what exactly has been excluded, and understand that that person doesn't need to continue this entanglement with the excluded energy or the excluded person in the family. Another example is about these vows of poverty, for example, or lack mindset. And we often see this, especially for people that are coming from either very poor countries or from families that have to go through famine, war, abandoning their homes, having to go somewhere else, and had very difficult, many difficult situations in life, and they had to fight and against these circumstances of difficulties to achieve something, and always there is this feeling or sensation we don't have enough, so or we are not worthy to gain more money or to accumulate wealth or so on. And what is happening again, for example, for people who had to go this, so a whole generation or even 2 generations that went through this, in the same family system, the newer generation, there is always someone or even more people that, because they have this inner sense that is always a subconscious pattern of solidarity with those people from the past who have suffered so much and who hadn't have enough. So in order to preserve this sense of good consciousness, those in younger generations, they will also promote the same pattern of, I don't deserve a lot. I don't deserve to have enough money. I don't deserve to feel I am enough. I don't deserve to have enough. And then, of course, this is always into the subconscious, and it belongs to the field because it is, as I said, an energetic entanglement that the people in different generations, they create in between them. So it's almost like saying, if those people who belong to my family system in the past, they had to go to these burdens and they were not able to have what they wanted, then I don't deserve this either. Because if that person will do the opposite and to say and do, okay, now I can take back my energy and I realize I don't have to follow into poverty and to lack mindset those people from the past, then I can create opportunities to really earn more, to have more, to be wealthy and prosperous. But if that person does this, immediately the subconscious would say, yeah, but in this case you are bad conscious. You have this bad consciousness because you are not allowing to the old patterns in the family to propagate. You just want to cut it. But instead is what those people need to do, and we have to do if we have similar patterns, because it's the only way to reclaim our sovereignty and our right to be happy, to be healthy, to be wealthy too, or at least to have enough, instead of just living in this lack mindset. And there are many different other examples I could bring, but I think these 3 already give you an idea of the consequences of building up these patterns inside our subconscious and not reclaiming our own life and our own destiny, but instead getting into these entanglements with our lineage. Because we don't save them anyway. Those people from the past, the situations they had in the past, we cannot change them. They already happened. What can be changed is that we understand this difference between good or bad consciousness, and then we get out of the entanglement. And of course, in order to do this, you need a facilitator to show you how to do it. And most importantly, you need to be very connected with yourself, with your own heart and your own field. So when you decide it, it's already something that gives you the opportunity to evolve in a different direction and to have a better life and to follow your own destiny and not the destiny of others from the past. So I hope I gave you some idea of what this work would mean or why it's useful. For me, it's been many years of working with it and I never get tired. It's so miraculous and so many possibilities when we access these hidden patterns. I actually became also quite good to understand when a person that comes to me with a certain difficulty, I understand that there is a pattern that needs to be explored, and then I guide that person. And if you feel curious or if you have a challenging situation right now, then connect with me and we check what is possible. Sometimes situations are really complex, so it's not about resolving everything with one session, but one session can unblock and open something. So you then can give more movements, take more action for a real solution. So I hope you enjoyed this short lecture. Subscribe to my channel, help me grow and gain visibility, so you get also notified for future contents and lectures. And share this if you find it useful for other people too. I'm here to support you if you need my support and if you trust the movement that is always an inner movement. Thank you. Enjoy the weekend ahead and see you soon. Bye bye.